Hello, and welcome to another episode of On the Payroll, my podcast where I talk to my guests about leadership, Salesforce, consulting, project delivery, creating great teams, and also one of the things that I enjoy best is asking my guests to tell me about their journey, the stories, the decision, the turning points that got them from where they were to where they are today. And in today's episode, I talked to Tom Ryan. He's the CEO and the founder of MarCloud, a marketing cloud specialists Salesforce partner. And I enjoyed his story about how he created a lifestyle working and traveling around the world, and the things that he did, the decisions that he made, and the learnings that he gained during that journey. And I really hope that you enjoy listening to this as much as I did making it. Thanks a lot. Hi, Tom. Welcome, and thank you for making the time to come on my podcast on the payroll. How are you today?
I'm very well, very happy, and also very excited to speak to you again because it's been a little while, and it's always nice to talk to you.
It has. We met at Eva's panel platform on the Marketing Cloud in the state of consulting, and you currently run your own company. And what I'd like to do is to hear about how you got started, or better yet, to take you back, if you can go right to the beginning of your journey and just talk to us about, just tell us your story about how you got to where you are today.
So if I go a long way back, so obviously when I was a kid, always loved playing with computers and things like that. Studied a degree at uni. I was going to do business administration, but the course that they put me on was called Business Enterprise Systems. Very, very technical and around the data flow diagrams and enterprise level systems. And we focused on SAP at the time. And my initial direction was going to be to go down the SAP consultant route. And I was going to do one of these ERP certifications. And it was all very technical. And I was about to pay for a course. And then I ended up getting a job in IT sales. I don't know how that happened, but it was local. And I ended up getting the job because I thought I was going to be an IT account manager. And the way they positioned the job, it was very much, you look after accounts, you help them, and it's very customer servicey. I get there and it was cold calling. So I quit straight away. My mum was shouting at me because I quit my job. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I know I'm clever. I can get any job I want pretty much. Quite arrogant at the time. And then I ended up getting a job at a marketing agency off the back of one of the girls who I worked with. She made some flippant comment about, I'm going to get a job in marketing. And I was quite competitive. So I was like, I'm going to get a job in marketing. and that genuinely is how I got into marketing. So worked at a marketing agency for roughly a year. And they were really, really good, intense, learned a lot. It's brilliant. Went client side, met Pardot, and then spent a year doing that. We were really good. It was fintech, so the space was quite small at the time for what we were in. And me and my manager sort of joked about setting up our own consultancy and doing Pardot for FinServe. So it's niche within a niche. And then we were going to travel. And then the company moved to a place called Basingstoke and had a nickname called Amazing Stoke, which is sarcastic because it's not amazing. And we didn't want to travel. So we just did it. And, we jumped in, we had all these letters of local companies that we were going to reach out to about Pardot, not knowing anything. Got our first client, huge project. Don't know how we did it. And then we moved to Bali. We went traveling all around Europe, went to Prague, all these different places. Until eventually, sidestep, the downfall of the company was a really weird time because a volcano went off in Bali. So it erupted and all the smoke went over Denpasar, which is the airport. We had to fly to Switzerland to get to a meeting with a client there. So we had to have this horrible journey, go across Bali. We had to get a train, stay overnight with mosquitoes, everything. Fly try and get to Jakarta to try and get to Geneva. And then that's where the company kind of came to an end. We both agreed we didn't want to do it anymore. We both went our different directions. He's doing really well now, which is great, but I still wanted to carry it on. And that's how MarCloud was formed. So it was all very much accidental up to the point where MarCloud started, if that makes sense. But ever since, I've absolutely loved marketing, love Pardot, and I love the space just because the people are so nice.
So I'm just going to take you right back again, because there are a few points that was really interesting that I wanted to kind of explore a little bit. So going back to the point where you were doing the your course, you were going to take the SOP course. What was it? Because there was a decision point. It's like, okay, I kind of know this. I assume at that time you probably realized being an SAP consultant probably would have been a fairly cushy job. And so you had this decision point where you go, okay, very technical, but probably going to be quite cushy or stable, and sales. What made you, decide on this one as opposed to that one?
I think it was, I'm not sure precisely exactly what happened. I think it's probably a series of things that happened. But ultimately, it was a very intense course that I would have had to have done. I would have had to have paid for it. But I think the ultimate decision was potentially the easy route, if you like. So it was, do I pay thousands of pounds for this ERP course that I may not love? And I went really far down the road where I was about to pay. Or I can get a job, get some experience, meet some people, get paid. And it was kind of, okay, I'll go that route and go down the career path rather than immediately invest in something that was potentially a risk. I think someone on my course is actually now an SAP consultant and doing amazing. So that potentially would have happened, but I quite liked the route that I took. It was more fun.
Just listening to you talk about your journey, it does sound like you tend to err on the side of fun slightly, because you were talking about traveling and everything. So how did that actually work? So you and your partner was traveling around the world, seeing clients, implementing stuff, or working remotely? How?
Working remotely. It was it was a lifestyle business. We weren't in Bali to meet Indonesian clients. We were in Bali because Bali's cool. So it was literally a lifestyle thing. And we dipped our toe in by starting with Europe. Going to Prague, to Spain for a bit. We went all over. I can't really remember all the places we went to. But it was so much fun. And the fact we could do it remotely was the best part about the job. It was testing it, because our end goal was originally to move to Vancouver. We wanted to just do all of our traveling, go to Bali. It was Tom, the guy who I did it with, and he wanted to go to South America. I was a bit unsure of that, but we just sort of, did it together, saw how it played out. And the end goal was to end in Vancouver and settle there. But obviously things didn't play out that way. We got close to where we wanted to go to, but different directions.
Okay, so it sounds like that was a close friend as well as a business partner. How did that work?
Well, he was my manager for quite a while, but then we made friends. So that it was really fun, honestly, really fun. But I think when you cross over too much, obviously we're really good friends, work together really, really well. He's brilliant at project management. But when you eventually live so close together, you're kind of living in the same space, then you're working together, you still want to be your own people. But then it's so closely together that you can clash. And I think that can grind on you after a while. So I think that was ultimately the downfall, is that eventually you just want to be yourself rather than this other person who you're so closely embedded with. It makes it a little bit tricky. So sometimes it doesn't work out, but it did for a very long time. It was really positive for ages. It was just that final decision.
So so we know the path that you've gone down this road. So I'm a Marvel fan, and I love thinking about Doctor Strange and all the alternate futures. So let's say a sliding moment was you talking about that Zurich trip. right? So let's say you walk down this path and you think, oh, at this point when the volcano erupts, things are just going to, end there. So if you could, rewind a little bit and say, that's going to happen. I'm having loads of fun traveling with Tom, the other Tom. What can I do, right, to make sure that sliding moment doesn't happen and, prolong the adventure a little bit further? So you have a friend that you're really close with and you're working, you're living together. And as you say, your lives are kind of entwined quite a bit. What might you change? So the angle I'm coming from is partners, as you've described, do happen, friendship, sometimes husbands and wives and things like that. And, they go into business. What should they think about to kind of like preserve that relation? Let's say it's a husband and wife. So obviously for you and your partner, you were able to amicably, split up and go your own way. But if you were, committed in a relationship, married, maybe with kids and things like that, and you want to carry on this adventure, what would you suggest you might have done differently to just, carry on that a little bit longer? What might you do?
I think, well, just initially, I wouldn't have changed anything at all. But if I had to give advice to someone, it would be to plan before. Unless you're one of those people that has a personality where you can kind of adapt to new situations, you like risk, you like the unknown. If you're not one of those people, you need to plan before. And by that, I mean, you need to have a conversation before you go into business with someone. And you just say, right, if this happens, if this event happens, this is how we're going to respond. This is the plan. And then when that happens, we just revert back to our kind of playbook and we can just respond in that way, because a lot of the stress and sort of frustration comes in, I think this, you think this, and there's a disagreement between the two. If you've already pre-planned for that, at least the kind of foreseeable common scenarios, it makes it a lot easier. But if you're one of those personality types that just likes to adapt, then just go all in and just do it, because it is fun and it is worth the pain at the end if it does go wrong.
So would you say that you and the other Tom were very much aligned in what you wanted out of this particular endeavor? Did you plan where you would go, or did you?
We were both the personality type where we just went all in. I think I was particularly more on the side of, I wanted to not particularly grow a business, but I was very much reputation. I was like, I'm very marketing. I'm very, I want to build a brand. I want to build this, thing that people respect and love. Whereas he was more on the side, not to say that he didn't want that too, but he was more on the side of lifestyle business, travel, have the best time ever, because he was really fun. So it was very much pleasant all the way. Whereas I was kind of happy to go through a bit more pain, to go for things that people don't really see much value in, but long term, it does have an impact, in my opinion.
I see. So it just naturally just kind of like diverged in terms of what you wanted, but it sounds like you had a great time.
Oh, it was great. It was fun.
Probably stacks of stories to tell about the different places that you've been. What were some of the challenges that you found doing that, traveling and servicing clients all around the world?
Well, actually, because we were quite committed, it wasn't that hard, honestly. So in Indonesia, or in Bali specifically, the time zones played out really nicely, because in the mornings, you just do what you want. I used to get up, go to the spa. I used to go and have a cold plunge pool. I'd have breakfast. I'd go see some friends, go to the beach, have a coconut, and then you'd start work about 2:00. But the only problem was when it got to say like 10, 11, you get really tired and you're still working, because that 8-hour day, it crosses over into like sometimes 10 to 12 if you do an extra. I think it's 4:00 start. I can't remember now, but either way, it was very late days. And that was the only real challenge, being in that time zone. But otherwise, it was actually really manageable.
How did you find your clients? So it sounded like you were freelancing basically, because that is what you were doing. How did you find your clients?
Good question. So we've always gone down the route of SEO. So we're really good at content, really good at positioning ourselves in a way where we can actually get our own clients. And that's what MarCloud prides itself on, is the fact that we don't necessarily need leads from Salesforce. We get them. We've got a great relationship with Salesforce, but we also get our own leads. So we get organic inbound marketing leads. So we could survive if Salesforce didn't send us another deal today. We'd still survive, and actually would still grow, because we've got that presence, and we've dominated the Pardot space. You search for something Pardot, you're probably going to end up on the MarCloud site at some point. We want to replicate that and build Marketing Cloud and do the same for that. But we've got quite a big presence online.
Honestly, you've got your plan that is just accelerating where you are now. So talk to me about MarCloud then, right? So you are big in the Pardot space, and now you're moving to Marketing Cloud.
Yes, so we're growing that, but we basically want to position ourselves now as the marketing automation consultancy for Salesforce. If it's marketing automation and it's Salesforce, then we're your people. We do Pardot, we do Marketing Cloud, we do analytics, we do Sales Cloud to an extent. So what I mean by that is whatever crosses over into the marketing automation side of things, even if it is Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, we'll pick it up. If it's a Sales Cloud only implementation, we're not going to touch it. It has to have that kind of marketing element, because that's what we find fun. The whole team is very much marketing, and that's what we love to do. So we wouldn't pick up work that isn't related to our sort of passion, if you like.
So talk to me about your team. How many do you have?
20. So it's in my mind, it's massive now. It's not compared to like the Wipros of the world and so on, but 20 is more than I thought we could get to, which was really cool. And we've got some amazing people. We've got Anton, he's got a PhD in computer science. We've got some backgrounds. We've got Ian, he built his own CRM at one point. From the ground up, he just built a CRM. And then some of the other people, some of the things they've done, the solutions, the way they think. I am officially probably one of the worst people in the company now when it comes to expertise. But I like to think I've still got the Pardot angle, so I still help from time to time.
How big is the delivery versus the non-delivery and operational side, do you say?
Good question. So we've got the head of culture role. It's non-billable. So essentially our leadership team is non-billable, although they do creep into billable roles. For example, sort of the project manager or client delivery manager side of things. It's kind of like 60% non-billable, 40 billable. So we're trying to keep our leadership team non-billable. But in some instances, when it comes to Anton, his passion is, Marketing Cloud, MAP systems and integrations. So he naturally becomes a little bit more billable. So it's I don't know the number split, but it's better than it was, because before it was all everyone needs to be billable. We're small, we need to grow, kind of thing.
So yes, you mentioned head of culture, and for a company of your size, that is a very unique position that's been created. Tell me what made you think, oh, I need head of culture as opposed to say head of delivery or operations or.
Yeah, so we're not the most commercial company in the world, which is a good thing, I think.
What does that mean when you say not commercial?
We're not hell bent on getting the best utilization out of everyone. We're not trying to sort of how do I word it? We're not trying to milk everyone for what they're worth. We're very much of the view that if we're going to bring in the best people, and if we're going to, more importantly, keep them, then we need to make sure it's a good environment, it's positive. It needs to be a culture of learning, collaboration, getting things wrong, learning from it, sharing stories, and that kind of collaborative approach where there's a different feel to the company. And we've done really well to get to that point. And we've got a Slack channel called Kudos, and it's probably the most active channel in our Slack group, where everyone's every day just pinging, this person did great on this call, this person's done great documentation, this person came up with an idea XYZ, this person just is an all-round proactive great person to work with. And it's really positive, and it creates that kind of pride to work at MarCloud, because it's all well and good being the best externally. Okay, great, we've got good CSATs, good Trustpilot, we bring in great clients, but if we're not the best internally, then that's going to fall apart at some point. And yeah, I'm very transparent about the fact that previously we didn't have a very good structure, and this was back in, I'd say, September, October last year. we had a company restructure. Since then, it's been brilliant. Like everything works, it's all seamless, people are happy, and we track happiness, by the way. We've got a tool, it's called Friday Pulse, and then everyone fills it in on a Friday, rates their week out of 5, and we can track happiness across week on week. And it essentially means that we can then see if the company is doing something wrong. And if it is, we'll find out what it is and we'll correct it. Hence the company restructure, because our scores were getting really low. We found out that some people actually wanted to leave at one point, and because we fixed it, they stayed. And that was a really, really big sort of learning point. I mean, one or two people did end up leaving. So we did lose some people off the back of it, but some people said, actually, we're working on it, we're improving, we're going to stay. So yeah, we're doing loads of things for consultants internally to make it just a great place to be.
Are you able to share, when you say structure, what was it that didn't work that works now?
Yeah, so my original vision was just to replicate me. So for example, it was to have a lead consultant, they do everything, and then you'd have like people supporting. So we called them execs. Execs would support like the lead consultant, if you like, and would just replicate that over and over again. But what that leads to is essentially a team of freelancers. And what happens is the lead consultant never gives work to their execs, because it's like, it's quicker if I do it. I know what I'm doing. I don't want to spend 20 minutes explaining it to you. I'll just do it. So then the execs are really empty in the more junior roles. They're just kind of not learning, a bit frustrated because that person's doing everything. Then that person gets really frustrated and stressed and burnt out because they're doing 3 jobs. So we had to restructure. Now we've got like a client delivery team. They're the project managers, essentially. The functional team, and they do all of the out of the box, Pardot, Marketing Cloud Solutions. And we've got a technical team. And then they are the APIs, the integrations, the code, the development, the deep, dark stuff. And that works really well. And there's collaboration across teams. There's support. If one person's on holiday, then a team picks it up. It's a company now, rather than just a group of people trying to do their best.
Wow, it sounds like you really, really listen to your team and take on their feedback.
Well, they're so smart. We're hiring competent and passionate people, and they are the best people to listen to. So for example, like in marketing, it's very much interview your customers. What do your customers want? Listen to your customers. They know best. It's the same internally. Okay, they're on the ground doing the work. If the project management tool doesn't work, okay, cool, we do need a new one, because they're telling you we need a new one. And it's very much a case of just listening and tweaking and making it better. Sometimes they'll ask too much and it will get it wrong, or sometimes they'll ask for something that isn't feasible from a commercial perspective, but we just explain that. We say, look, we can't do that because there's no frustration. We're very transparent. Communication is very open. And that's where you get the nice culture, because they know it's not just a very commercial business where I'm here making them loads of money. It's a case of, no, we're doing it all together. We're going to grow this company. We're going to have a really nice culture, and we're going to do it properly. And that's what we want.
Well, talk to me about your hiring and recruitment process, because right now everyone knows that Salesforce is the place to be, and good resources are like gold dust, basically. So you mentioned you're growing. Just talk to me about how your interview and recruitment process is like.
So me and Jake reach out to a lot of people, like personally, but we'll proactively pick people who we know in the space, and we'll just ask them. Sometimes it will be, you're looking for a role, or have you ever been interested in MarCloud, and that type of thing. The reason why we do it is because we can give them all the information they need. If they're considering it, if they're not considering it, okay, speak to you soon. So we do a lot of that. It is time consuming, but worth it, because we only want the best people. We don't want, just numbers. There's no point doing that, because it affects the culture. So we try and hand pick the best people. We're part of the Talent Alliance as well, the Salesforce Talent Alliance, which is really helpful. We're putting more emphasis on that as well. But yeah, our approach is to find the most passionate people, and you can kind of tell, one conversation on a Zoom, Google Meet, whatever it is, if they're a right fit. And obviously, me and Jake being the owners of the company, we can tell pretty quickly if they're going to be a good fit or not.
So you handpick the more senior roles, and for the junior ones, you go to Talent Alliance?
Both. We do all of them. So the first interview is always with us. because we need to know if they're a culture fit. It's like the most important thing. If we bring someone in and they're not a culture fit, if they're, a mean person, or if they're overly aggressive, overly, too much, it's going to impact the team. And the team are the most important, the highest priority. So we always interview them first, no matter what role. And then we do a second stage, and that's with the line manager or whoever it is. So we're kind of like the culture filter. If you're fine, you're good. And then you go through to the next stage. Or if we absolutely love that person, we'll just hire them on the spot, which we have done before.
So when you say culture, is it just a vibe or a feel, or do you articulate what your values are and how?
Yeah, our values are on the website. Our values are
Okay.
posted on the website. So we, if we know it's common sense, team player, proactive, and passion, they're the most important things. If we can tell if you're passionate, we can tell if you've got drive, if you just you love MarCloud because you know that we're the marketing automation people. You're not just applying because, I want to leave my consultancy because they're not very good. I just want to find another one. You're probably not going to get in MarCloud. Whereas if you're like, nope, I want to know Pardot, or even though I want to learn Marketing Cloud, any of those kind of goals and passion and drive, that's going to help you in an interview with MarCloud, because that's the type of person we want, and we can help you get to that goal.
Okay. So tell me again about your head of culture and what's their role? What do they do?
Good question. So that's Chloe. Chloe heads up that role. She used to work at Secanti, which is pretty cool. They're a good consultancy in the US. But yeah, Chloe's role is pretty much all people. There is a very operational element to it, because all of the operational sort of processes tie in with culture. The way we communicate with each other, the way we do things, the way we present documentation, the way we word it, our emphasis on the client, saying we rather than you. It's not your account, it's our account. If we're working on it, we're doing it together. And it's that collaborative element to it. So in every touch point of communication that we have internally and externally, her focus is to make that as best as it can be. So for example, big frustration internally was not being able to find documentation and, certain things that people wouldn't be clued up on, whether it be a niche part of Pardot or whatever it is. Her job is to go, okay, cool. We'll work on that pain point or that frustration. Here's some documentation, centralizes it. Okay, cool. That now makes that person alleviated, less stressed, and that affects culture as well. So it's quite a broad role. It's an important role for any consultancy or agency. But I think it's very misunderstood, especially in corporate places, where they think it's very fluffy, no ROI kind of role, but there's actually ultimate ROI from people being happy and fulfilled in their role. So it's a really important job.
So what is does she have a KPI, for example?
Not currently, no.
Okay.
And I don't, and as we're growing, as still in the early stages of MarCloud, if you like, certain people have only been in a number of months rather than years. So it's all very new, but we will introduce those at some point. Not to the point where it's corporate. We don't really like corporate feels. But yeah, there will be eventually.
Okay. So let me ask you about what advice you might give to someone who's thinking of, because Marketing Cloud and Pardot, they're not cheap. They're not cheap products, but they do have a lot of reputation. Salesforce has a really strong reputation, and you've got, let's say a company is thinking about, they've been doing it themselves, using their own, MailChimp and all sorts of other plethora of products, and they want to come on board and say, hey, what do I have to get in place correctly first before we engage you? And that's true for a lot of any other projects, basically, because I've only done maybe 2 Marketing Cloud projects. Most of mine is like in the Microsoft space and everything else. But generally, when we get engaged, if the clients got their house in order, it's generally a good project to get in. The data's clean, for example. They've got an internal project team in place. They've got their lines of authority, communication, and ownership sorted out, governance board and change control boards, etc. Putting that aside, from a marketing point of view, what are the things that an organization need to think about plan or prepare before they begin engaging MarCloud, let's say, to think about putting marketing automation in?
Well, number one really is that they actually want to go down that road. They just need to make a decision. Okay, cool. We know this tool is right for us. But having said that, literally yesterday I had a call with a global company, and I'm going to be helping them map out their MarTech stack. They haven't decided on Pardot as a solution yet. They're using one of the other sort of email marketing tools, a cheaper one. And this is relatively straightforward. It's a case of just mapping out all of their MarTech stack, working out how it all integrates together, how it could look with Pardot and Salesforce. And in this instance, it will be with Pardot through to Marketing Cloud because there's an ad studio element to it. It's going to be quite fun. So in that instance, it don't come up too often, but that's a that's a pre-sales kind of step. But we're going to workshop it, map it out, and then we'll probably be the consultant of choice for implementation. So really, there isn't really a perfect time to engage with us, but the most common will be, we've decided on Pardot, we need you to implement it. From there, we can help them as much as they like. If their house isn't in order, it's going to cost them more. We can still help them, but they will get turned off by how expensive it could be. I mean, if you outsource anything like that, it's going to be expensive. So the ideal situation would be for them to have the teams on board, have champions internally. If you turn it on, okay, great, but who's going to run it when we're gone? Have you thought about that? And if they haven't, okay, you're going to have to outsource it to us, and that's going to be expensive over the long term. So thinking about those things is very helpful for them. But in any case, at any point, as long as it's touching marketing automation for Salesforce, they can engage with us at any point. And we will sort of guide them through the process. And we do free reviews as well. So if you've got Pardot, if you've got Marketing Cloud, we'll go in, review it for free. Main reason being, again, a thought leadership piece. We show you we know what we're doing. When you have a project, you're probably going to come to us. So we'll just review accounts for free, and we do that quite often.
So can you delve a little bit more into the getting your house in order bit? What I'm trying to get to, mainly for my own curiosity, is there anything apart from the normal stuff that I would get any company looking to do a transformation? Basically, it's a transformation. When you do a project, you're going from state A to state B, from having no CRM to having a CRM, or having a hodgepodge of stuff that you call marketing to Pardot or Marketing Cloud. So the generic ones will be champions and data quality. Is there anything over the normal stuff to get your house in order that you think would set them up for success more easily? Do they need to have, let's say, hire someone with Marketing Cloud certs or not?
It's helpful. So that it depends. There's a couple of things. So it's almost always about people, almost every time. I mean, sometimes it's about like data hygiene and things like that and processes, but it's not almost always about people. So when you say get the house in order, it's very helpful if they have a company-wide, direction. Everyone's sort of going towards the same goal. If you have sort of certain departments where they're like, I don't like new systems, I'm not going to adopt it, you're going to have a problem straight away because you're immediately, you've got barriers. So the first thing everyone could do is try and get everyone on board. Educate them on how this is going to make your life easier, or educate them on this is how the company's going to grow and this is how you're going to benefit. And then try and align everyone on the vision, because if you do that, the implementation's much cleaner. Everyone's aware of changes. It gives you a little buffer of time for frustrations. So for example, if you implement a system, it doesn't go to plan straight away. There's some mistakes with emails going to the wrong people and that sort of thing. That's fine because you've got that buffer. Everyone's aware, you can fix it. And that definitely helps. And that alongside the champions and, saying we're going to go through a rocky period, it's going to get better. And here's the new way of working and it's better for everyone, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that the people side is the most important.
Do you have a favorite kind of industry that you like working with?
I've always liked financial services for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on why. It might be because of my original client-side job. It's just something about it that I quite like. But there's been some really fun ones. I mean, events tends to be quite complicated and quite interesting, especially from a Marketing Cloud perspective. but yeah, it's been a wide range. There's been some companies that I've never even heard of, and they've come out the woodwork and it's like, oh, okay, this is an interesting project. And we don't work with certain ones just from an ethical point of view. We turned down a gun company in the US just because we didn't like the thought of that. Obviously, being, I'm vegan. I tell everyone all the time. So obviously, I don't want to work with a gun company that kills animals. So certain things like that, we have a line. But on the whole, it sort of varies, the industries.
So you mentioned earlier on that you were heading for a niche in a niche. Where you are today, are you still like that, or is it just anyone who's looking to do marketing automation?
Anyone, yeah. Honestly, it's doesn't matter your industry. We're very much aligned to the products, although we do have experience in certain spaces. Like we're pretty good at 3D printing. Worked on that a couple of times now. So yeah, Pardot, Marketing Cloud, the analytics for both, bit of Sales Cloud, as long as it's market automation, doesn't matter what industry you're in, because we've got at least some sort of experience, especially with the people we've got. We've got insane experience now.
Fantastic. Just thinking back about the projects that you've been on, what has been some of your most fun projects? I'd like to hear how it went, but you don't have to provide details of who if you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't know if I can share this one, the name of them, but there was a charity that was really fun. I actually worked in this one. And it was, so the year prior, it was very manageable and it's very manual. So everyone was signing people up. They had 3 layers of people. So you had the top people who were kind of enrolling these 2 people on the courses. This person here had to join course 1, 2, and 3. This one had to join 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6. There was lots of complications around the courses. So the gist of it was, once they're onboarded, we had these engagement studios and Pardot to try and push them through each stage of the journey. We had to listen to custom objects in Salesforce to understand when they'd signed up to course 1 and course 4, for example. And then we had to introduce loads of dynamic content to say, okay, cool, we can see that it's for this person. We can see that you've signed up 10 people, but only 7 have registered. So are you going to catch up with those 3 people that haven't signed up? And all of that had to be really heavily personalized. And then these people had to sign up to certain courses. We had to send reminders about the courses. You didn't attend. You did attend. Now you need to join your next one, log in, blah, blah, blah. Really complicated process, but we managed to nail it. We got it up and running. The deadline was hit. And ultimately it allowed them as a charity, one, to work more efficiently. So it kind of saved them money and saved them any mistakes because they get funding from the government once they sign people up and so on. So the whole onboarding process was automated. It worked really, really well and saved the teams from manually sending emails to 400 people. So yeah, absolutely loved that project. I don't work on projects as much anymore, being in the role that I am, but I still like to get involved in the complicated ones every now and then, just because it's fun.
It's fun. Absolutely. So while you were talking, I wanted to ask something, but it's kind of gone now. It was really interesting what you were talking about. So I understand that Salesforce.org are free, or number of licenses are free to charity. Do you provide different rates for charities as opposed to corporate clients as a consulting partner?
Yeah, we discount it slightly. I think it's 20% off or similar. We've just had our application accepted for .org, which is really exciting. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more work in the .org space, which is cool. But yeah, it is discounted slightly when we work with non-profits since that partnership.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so if you were to look back on your journey, what do you think are some of the lessons you might impart on the younger you?
Good question. So I think structure is important. Also understanding the role you're in, because I've always been very friendly with everyone we work with, which is good. I mean, especially now we're in an environment where that's kind of allowed and everyone's cool with it. I think previously, people didn't really respect it too much. And, they wanted me to be more senior, or they wanted me to be different. I don't know. We had a couple of bad reviews on our company, but off the back of that approach, and it was simply just where we were really young as a company, really small company, not really knowing what we're doing just yet, finding our feet. And as a result, you do make mistakes. Like you're never going to get it right first time. And I can still say this, I'm 29. I'm still 29. I'm almost 30, but I'm 29. So of course, I'm not going to be perfect just yet. So younger me, I like to think I'm still quite young. Younger me, probably suggest, just appreciating where you are from a position point of view, I guess, rather than just being really casual, because sometimes people don't want that casual approach. They want a leader. Even if, no matter how small you are, even at like 8 people, you still need to be in that position of, okay, right, where are we going? That kind of thing. But I wouldn't change anything at all. It's all part of the learning process, which I know you like. You enjoy the learning process.
I do. Yeah, it's there's very few mistakes that are horrible, irreversible, and where lives were at risk. Anything else, I think, it's learning. So on that note, have there been any events? So it doesn't have to be kind of project related. Throughout your career, has there been anything that changed who you are or your outlook because it wasn't something that went to plan?
God, it's a good question. I don't think so. I've always been pretty much myself, and I think it depends what way around you go. So my attitude's always been, if, like, say for example, quitting that job, that sales job, it didn't align with my personality, so I quit it. I didn't let that job then change me. And it's obviously, I work with, me and Jake own MarCloud, so we're best friends. So we can just literally, we don't have to be corporate. We don't have to be like that because we are just friends. So it's really nice. So I don't think there's been an event that's kind of changed me, other than there's been like really good tips. Things like the sales guy in that job that I quit, sales director, he said, you need to create your own personal brand within the company. So for example, any communication you have with colleagues, you should treat your colleague like your client, because internally at some point there will be some sort of thing that happens where all of your colleagues need to see you as a very competent professional. So don't make like inappropriate jokes, don't like mess around and do things that aren't particularly what you want your personal brand to be, if that makes sense. So every touch point, whether it's external or internal, you should always be the best you can, because at some point that's going to do you some favors.
Have you ever had to let someone go?
Yes. Yes. And it's just unfortunate, but the way that I see it is it's best for them. Would you rather keep them and they just fail and fail and fail in a particular role? Or do you just say, look, like, it's not working out, it's fine, these things happen, part ways, and that does happen. It happens in every job, not just the Salesforce space, but it may even be sometimes it's just not, MarCloud isn't the right place for them. It could just be another consultancy is, because the way we work is a little bit unique. So it's not, I don't particularly see it as a negative. It's just one of those things where, okay, cross paths, okay, all the best in the future, we might speak again, but yeah, it doesn't have to always be negative.
Okay. What do you think is unique about MarCloud? The
people and the way we work. I think, the collaborative elements, honestly, that the happiness scores are so good. So it's my dog. We have dogs in the office. We're very much laid back. It's the collaborative element. It's the learning. Everyone's passionate. Everyone's got this drive to like do better and learn more about the space. And it is quite exciting. I mean, the kudos chat, again, that's the best part about MarCloud, in my opinion, is it's just so, like, Jake took a week off, which he needed. He works too hard. And he came back and he gets to read all these messages in this kudos chat. Just read message after message after message of everyone just being nice to each other. So that's one of the favorite things. So we meet up as well. So this Thursday, we're going out for beers in Liverpool. So it should be nice.
Okay. Is it how are you handling the remote situation? Is everyone remote at the moment? Or are you back in the office? Or?
Very hybrid. So got Delphine, who's in Spain. Georgie just got back from Bucharest. People are dotted all over. So some people are office based, and me and Jake always come to the office because we enjoy it. And it's flexible. If you want to work from home, work from home. All we ask is just get the work done. It's very much a common sense approach. But we've got about five, 6 or 7 people in today. Got a new puppy, so everyone's quite happy.
It always amps the happiness up, I think.
It does. Yeah, it does. Yeah. We have a dog Slack channel as well for photos about dogs. So
no cats.
and cats. We're not specific to one, but yeah, it's called Branch Managers, which is quite funny.
Yes. So you mentioned, Delphine, who is not in England. Is it because they're on holiday, or because you have a more global reach now? What?
No, we always hire UK-based employees, but she's got dual citizenship. Very lucky. Okay. So she's so she spends some time there, some time in the UK. But it's an hour away, so it's absolutely fine. It's easy. Yeah, she's great.
Do you have any clients who ask for face-to-face workshops and stuff?
We used to, before the pandemic, yes, people asked it, but I think now people don't really ask it. I mean, they might suggest it sometimes. We've got one coming up soon, me and Jake, with a client, but we're looking forward to it. We're trying to, some people like traveling. So for example, someone wants to go to Singapore, or someone wants to go to the US to see the client. So we're proactively suggesting it. Like, can we come see you? Like, we want to come visit. But yeah, it's very much a, again, laid back, common sense approach. It's like, it's not really feasible, or, if it's the local area, Liverpool, yeah, we'll probably go in, but otherwise it's, case by case, not going to push it.
Sounds like, so I've worked in a lot of partners, consulting partners before, and generally unless you're much bigger, a lot of the clients are a little bit more local. So to hear you say things like when you were freelancing, for example, and having overseas clients, so from consulting point of view, there's expenses. So whether the client wants to bear the expenses of your travel, is that more common in the marketing space, or is it so small that there's not that many of Marketing Cloud partners that you could have clients all over the world, and the expectation is that they would fly you out to do workshops?
At this point, at this stage in our business, no, we've not come across that expectation, because we are quite efficient remotely. I don't know if it's because we're good, or if it's because it just hasn't come up yet. I'm sure it will come up. But if in any case, the team would want to do that. But yeah, I mean, the expenses are kind of, part and parcel of them wanting the face-to-face. And if anything, there is an ROI on that, because doing anything face-to-face is just so much better. Those little ad hoc questions, it's so easy to answer when you're face-to-face with someone. Even on a call, it's very 2D. Like, for example, me and you can talk back and forth now, but in a room, you can have that 3D kind of feel where people are speaking. And if there's 8 people, 2 can talk to 2, kind of, yeah, nothing beats face-to-face. I prefer it, but our clients are global, so they're all over the place. So traveling would be would have a commercial impact if we were to just send everyone everywhere, and it wouldn't really work.
I am totally on board with that. I think there's so much about in-person and proximity events that, the energy is just not something you can replicate at all. So my next question, which we might snip out depending on what you want to answer or how you answer. So in terms of, the market's really hot right now in acquisition is rife. It sounds like you're heading towards a position where you might look very, very attractive. Is that something you think about as an end game, or?
I'm a pilot consultant, So I love the space. I mean, that's, to be honest, it's not really a priority for us right now. The priority is there's certain things that me and Jake just fundamentally want to do. For example, we've got our business card scanner app. We need to get that off the ground, get it going, finalize it so it's on the app store, so it's working, which is very, very close. There's ISO. We're making steps towards ISO 27001. And there's just so many things in the way Marketing Cloud get off the ground, build a team, great culture, get to 30 people. All of that stuff's more important to us right now than thinking about any of that stuff. So to be honest, no, not a priority. But we're just enjoying what we're doing, to be honest.
Amazing. I think, the projects that you've just highlighted seems to be the kind of stuff that would keep you interested and busy and your team for quite a while. But I wouldn't be surprised if someone comes up and say, hey, what's that number? And you're,
well, me and I can't even say me and Jake now. I'm 29. He's now 30, which he'll hate me for saying. But we're so young. We could do this for another 20 years if we wanted to. So, I mean, that number would have to be stupidly high for us to even think about it, because we are just, enjoying what we're doing. So, and we're good at it. So it's all working.
Amazing. Thank you very much for spending the time. I'm very mindful of, I want to be respectful of your time. I do appreciate you talking to me and sharing with me your journey and your learnings along the way. I'm sure my audience and your fans will find it very interesting to hear about our chat. So I do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tom.
Amazing. It's always lovely to speak to you.
Thank you.